important thing for you that you want people to know about autism from a personal perspective? The answer to this is kind of a two-parter because there's two things I think that are very important to keep in mind. The first thing is that it's a spectrum. So you're going to meet some people that have relatively little to no needs, and you're going to meet people who have a lot of needs. So really, you have to keep in mind that it includes all of us. And I want, like, things and groups and services and all that I think would be able to, be able to accommodate all of us, not just the very high functioning, not just the very low functioning. You gotta also get the middle ground too, because there's probably a lot of people in the middle that may have a lot of conflict in, like, getting what they need and, like, being able to do regular things. So basically keep in mind that it is, in fact, a spectrum. The other most important thing to know is that I guess it kind of tails off of this, is that every single person you meet is an individual. Just like in any other situation, you meet one person, and every single one of us is unique in our own way, and again, we're all individual people. So really, take it as it happens. Oddly enough, this question is also a two-parter because this person goes on to ask, and also, do you feel TV shows and movies have done a poor or good job at representing people with autism? Honestly, lately, it's been a little bit better, at least from what I've seen. I think that people are starting to pay a little bit more respect to it, at least in TV shows and movies. I haven't caught up with it yet, but I've been watching The Good Doctor, and that's actually done pretty decently with representation as far as I can tell. And Freddie Highmore, much credit to him. He does a really good job. And it's really good that they're going in the direction of all the smaller nuances, is that not everything is so expressive. You can kind of tell with watching him that everything is internal, which is kind of accurate, honestly, at least for me personally. A lot of what's going on in my head, like, I may not express a lot, or I'll express too much. There's not really a lot of in between, but there's a lot of internal, like, the gears are constantly turning, I guess. That might be the best way to describe it. In movies, I haven't seen one lately that represents autism in any fashion, so I can't really say for sure. The thing that comes to my mind is Rain Man and What's Eating Gilbert Grape. I don't know if Leo DiCaprio is playing an autistic character, but whatever. I think either of them, honestly, are positive representations from what I can tell. It's not like a stereotypical or completely stereotypical thing. And honestly, especially for the times that both of those movies came out, it's pretty good. And I almost forgot, there is a movie about Temple Grandin that I saw, and it is really, really, really good. So I would say that movie is a very positive representation, at least with Temple Grandin's story. So that's really good. I think media in general is starting to take a good step in the right direction. In a separate category in plays, look up the whole Puppagate situation, and you might see differently. So this, at least kind of question, I got in, like, a direct message, and they gave me permission to use this question, but they said, "Hey, sir, sorry for the super random inbox, but I also have autism, and was curious about your point of view on coping with it, question mark?" They go on to say that I seem like someone who has kind of figured out my stride and seems pretty confident with it, and they were curious. Firstly, as I told them, I don't think I completely have it figured out. I'm still figuring it out, and I think that's probably going to be the case at least for a very long time. But I appreciate that I come off that way, I guess. As far as coping with it, I mean, I have developed some negative coping mechanisms that I am working to get rid of, but I lately have been finding some more positive coping mechanisms. For example, I have a bunch of fidgets that will help, like, in situations when I need them, at least when I remember to grab them. I try to carry one with me, at least one that I have with me, and it's a nice little grounding sort of thing. And on top of that, I try to find things that I like to put my focus into, like art. Maybe I'll watch a movie, maybe I'll watch YouTube videos, things like that, that kind of gives me a chance to turn my brain off and just enjoy something. So that's a more positive thing, I guess. And I guess that as far as me being confident in it, I'm confident enough that I'm able to be a little bit more open about it, especially on this sort of forum, which I was very iffy about for a long time. But I figured that if I was closing myself off to it on this, then what would be the point? And if this happens to interfere with my career, then I guess that proves a point too. But also, it's like, hey, even though I live with this thing in my brain, I can still do the things, whatever the things may be. I just happen to do it a little bit differently sometimes, and you know what? That's fine. So this isn't necessarily a question, but somebody replied to me with a couple of really interesting points to talk about. So the first thing they say is, I tend to think autism doesn't affect women that much differently than it affects men, but there are different gender expectations for all women that can impact or how our autism may be expressed. Plus, sometimes the same traits are seen differently based on our gender. And I agree with that. It kind of goes into the binary gender expectations. Like, that's a whole other conversation that I'm not going to have in this video. But, it does, in a way, affect women partly because of that, I think. Because I don't know if it's that it affects women differently. I'm still not 100% sure on this. But I think it's expressed, or it shows itself differently in women versus men. If you want to get really scientific about it, there are technically more parts in a woman's brain dedicated to reading body language than there are in men. An exception might be with creative types, but because women are, I guess, supposedly a little bit more intuitive with that because of this brain thing, maybe that and I guess the expectations we have were a little bit, it makes it easier for us to camouflage ourselves, I guess. Sometimes I consider myself like a social chameleon or a social ninja because, at least in my case, I'm able to hide it very well, with whether or not I actually intend to. But oftentimes it kind of proves itself because anytime I tell somebody, they're like, oh my god, I would not have guessed. I did not know. Like, almost nobody ever figures it out right away, and that's one of the reasons why I'm very selective about who I tell. Which I know is funny, saying that I've already expressed that here, so I mean like interpersonally, in people that don't watch this and people that hire me, I guess. The next thing that they post is, to continue on that thought, also, many assume autistic people lack sexuality. Many autistic people are annoyed that society assumes they're all asexual. I know kids who were denied sex ed in school because it was considered inappropriate for the autistic kids. Conversely, some of us are asexual. With that, I mean, just because you're autistic doesn't mean that you don't have sexual needs and sexual desires. It's better to not look at it like, oh, like as if we're an autistic person, just look at us like, I don't know, anyone else. Because even if somebody wasn't autistic, maybe they aren't very sexual. Maybe they are very sexual. It depends on the person. So, like I said before, we are individuals, just like in any other case. So, yeah, everybody has their different reasons into why they're going to be sexual versus why they're not going to be sexual or whatever. And also this person agrees that not all asexual people are autistic and most people aren't asexual. But yeah, sexuality is a thing in its own. So that does it for answering your comments and questions. I know that's not a lot of them. I didn't get a lot of them, but maybe in the future I'll do another sort of Q&A thing, or just like, hey, is there a thing you'd like me to discuss in a video? Feel free to leave suggestions if you want. If there's anything you guys want to see, either on my Twitter, because that's where I'm most active, you can leave them in the YouTube comments. Whatever's easiest for you and whatever you think might get my attention. And yes, I actually did do the thing, which is really good, because I know I had talked about this a lot, but actually doing the thing is a whole other story. And yay, I at least hopefully prove that I will actually do these. I just may not always do them right away. And before I turn this off, I want to announce that my charity livestream is going to be next Saturday, May 4th. I am still deciding a title. I'm really aiming towards us May the 4th be with you because Star Wars, but that's also because I'm a nerd. And I also may take that idea into an even nerdier direction, which I won't really explain until I actually release it, if I do release that name, or unless I name it something else, then that's another thing. I burped. But thank you to those who suggested things and asked me questions. Thank you. This is seriously, I didn't expect to get anything, so I appreciate that I got something, so thank you. Yay, hugs. And if I have more of these, I will be happy to do another one, but until then,